100 years ago, monsters suddenly appeared on Earth with their frenzied attacks. Countless cities fell. The remaining humans retreated into few surviving fortresses, one of which is Fortress number 54. The citizens were reminded not to leave the fortress and not approach the 9 mysterious abysses that suddenly appeared within. Falling in could lead to the underground beast lairs. Meanwhile, a silver-haired woman with ripped clothing was cornered by some bad men. One of these men told her that a lowborn like her should feel honored to study at the same academy as them. And it was all because their noble brother Kai is merciful. Kai gave her 2 choices: to let him have his fun or jump into the abyss herself. She called him a lunatic who assassinates classmates and silences witnesses. She vowed that he will never touch her and trick Goddess Lin. Kai realized that she knew something about him, but he's confident that the woman named Lin Ling will marry him obediently, since he had already thrown her brother in jail and she had no choice. He advised her to be a good girl and let him enjoy himself. That way he'd spare her from the abyss. She stepped back and almost fell. That spook through the rocks fell all the way down. They heard a sound which made them nervous. A hand grabbed onto the edge of the cliff. It was a monster. They called it a bone-faced beast. It was a scary beast since it can even kill awakened ones easily. Kai hid behind the woman. He pushed her towards the beast, saying that she would taste better than him. But the beast approached him. In a single punch, his head got blown away. The other men ran as fast as they could, while reporting the monster via phone call. And as expected, it was no use. The monster caught up and stepped on one of the guys. And in a swift move, it grabbed the other and ripped it apart, making a fountain of blood. Upon witnessing that the woman's legs weakened, the monster went to her. She felt helpless and just convinced herself that dying in the hands of a monster is better than being violated. But to her surprise, the monster snubbed her. It just jump-hied across to the other side. It landed on the rooftop of a building. Meanwhile, a man was furious that his son died in school. He questioned the school's security. He was the principal of that school, and a woman and a man groveled in front of him, while explaining that the underground monitors didn't detect any monsters climbing up from the abyss. They suspected that the bone face must have sneaked in from the outside. Their explanation of a monster hiding on the abyss walls and ambushing his son is nonsense to him, especially when bone-faced beasts have less intelligence than birds. He claims that they're just trying to dodge responsibilities, and he wanted whoever killed his son, monsters or humans, to pay. He ordered to track down that bone-faced beast. He wanted to find it and kill it. Consequently, the bone face was jumping from one roof to another. It went near the area where the faces of the monsters are engraved. In a mountain, it was like the Mount Rushmore National Memorial, except the faces are faces of monsters. A silver-haired man, together with 2 bone faces weighted on top of the skull. Carving the bone face reported to his master that he's back. The silver-haired guy, named Lin Yuan, called this monster number 1 and knew that someone was tracking it. He ordered it to return to the beast's space. This guy right here will also be our main protagonist, and I'm sure you'll like him anyway. Our MC told number 2 to rest too. They became cards in his hands. Yuan was a victim of Kai, so sending him to the afterlife was his revenge. He knew that. He would never expect the monster that killed him would be his pet. In a world overrun by monsters, where human ability users fight for survival, his trump card is having a monster capture system. Monsters that others flee from are all targets for him to catch. He ordered number 3 to take him back to prison. He rode on its shoulders while it jumped from roof to roof. The B-class bone-faced beast is the strongest monster he ever captured so far, and he has 3 in total B-class. Bone-faced beasts can not only kill ability users, they can even crush beginner awakened. But in that doomsday world, he knew it wasn't enough. They arrived at the prison walls. He made the bone-faced return. His top priority at that moment is to get out of the prison legally. He released another card and entrusted the rest to it. That card revealed a sexy female monster with 6 eyes, creepy mouth, and has several limbs from its back. A few days later, at the royal mansion, a red-haired girl tried to stop Ling. But Ling had no choice since her brother was thrown into prison, and if he accepts the engagement, Kai will release him. The red-haired girl, named Runyul, was sad. that it's the only way the Wong clan wields power in the fortress. And Kai has a powerful family, with his father being the director of the academy, and his brother is a 9th-tier ability user. She knew that no prey could escape his grasp. Ling was surprised. He was confused why there were so many people inside. The room is where Kai's funeral is being held. A large picture of Kai was in the center. He was surprised to see that he's dead. She questioned how it was possible. She couldn't believe that the demon who ruled the fortress had dropped dead. Someone saw them and thought she's mourning for his son. Kai's father stated that Kai chose the right fiancé, and though Kai has gone to promise, still stands. She asked if he would free her brother. He replied yes, since just a word from him and her brother's crimes would disappear. But she had to fulfill her promise of marrying his son. He was confused since Kai is dead. Kai's father told her that he'd be lonely down under, so she'll have to marry him by ghost wedding. You couldn't fathom how a living can wed a dead person. Ling asked if he'll truly spare her brother. He told her that if she obeys and is buried with his son in a ghost wedding, he'll free her brother. He just wanted her to make sure that someone is waiting for Kai below, then he'll let her brother go. He threatened her that if she refuses, her brother and father will be buried instead. He pressured her to make a decision. But Ling agreed to marry Kai by ghost wedding. At the Wong clan's secret chamber, Yin, a 9th-tier ability user, promised his father that every enemy who could have hurt his little brother and every commoner girl he toyed with will all be killed by him. Then he asked if they should spare the Lin family. Since Ling accepted the ghost wedding, he did say he'd spare her kin, but still he wanted all suspects to die. He instructed Yin to take care of the brother in prison, and after the wedding, they would send her father off. Yin agreed to arrange the accidental death of the brother in prison. At Blackwater Prison, the cell doors were unlocked. They held the slaughter night, wherein inside the prison, there are no rules except for killing. Until they leave, they have one target. They plan to make it like a brawl and beat the guy to death. The inmates agreed to it, and they made their way. Yuan was told by another inmate that the thugs were hired to kill him. The man panicked when all the cells were just unlocked. He told Yuan to run, but Yuan questioned why. The man told him that those thugs wouldn't let anyone live, and since Yuan is still young, he encouraged him not to throw away his life for pride. Yuan simply replied that if they could step into the cell, then they could take his life. The thugs hurried since the guards were gone. The man with Yuan was nervous, but he got confused when the noise stopped. Yuan initiated to take a look. The man was dumbfounded the thugs were frozen. He asked Yuan on what's happening. The monster that Yuan released earlier controlled those thugs with her string. She used silken killing array, infinite slicing, causing the bodies of those thugs to be sliced into pieces. It was morbid. The man even called it Asura's hell. He got intrigued about who this kid really is. In that apocalyptic world, Yuan lives by the rules that if none offend him, he would offend no one, but if anyone offends him, he'd eradicate them all. It was a rule of survival. A man questioned the warden if Yuan's head was guaranteed. Warden Tianshur was confident that the weak and helpless Yuan would be toyed to death by the prison bosses. The steward of the royal palace was pleased to know that. He stated that as soon as the chaos ends, he'll take the head back as a betrothal gift for the ghost marriage. Deputy Warden Bai Lin could sense that something is approaching from the outside. The steward got worried that the frenzied prisoners were rushing over. The warden wasn't worried, though, because the door can't be broken even by a tank. He told Steward Wong to relax, but the door was punched. That surprised them. It was followed by the door being blown up. It was done by Yuan's bone-faced monster. Steward Yang threatened to report him, but before he could move, he got squashed by the bone face. Lin knew there weren't any records of 8B rank bone face beast being controlled by a human. Warden Chi threatened Yuan that if he kills him, he won't come out unscathed. He added that they have the strongest prison guards corps, and him alone will be torn apart by them. He asked Yuan if he meant them. The soldiers entered, but they pointed their guns at Warden Chi. He couldn't believe it because he personally trained those men. Yuan told him that those soldiers are now his spider's puppets. Warden Chi got to his knees and begged him to spare him. He reasoned that he was just forced by the Wong family. Yuan ordered him to hand over his warden authority chip. The warden did that, but replied that it would be useless to Yuan. Yuan replied that it was none of his concern and bid him farewell. Warden Chi's eyes widened in shock. The soldiers fired at him. Yuan clarified that he only told him to hand over the chip, but he never said about letting him live. He had his own plans for the warden authority. He gave the chip to Lin and called her the new warden. Lin was surprised that she didn't have to die. Yuan stated that according to Fortress Law No. 54 Article 563, during a state of emergency, a deputy warden authorized by the warden can automatically be prompted to warden, even if she's an admin staff. It didn't matter, but she had to swallow a spider's egg to become his. She stared at it, but then she decided to eat it. Yuan told her that as long as she obeys, she would allow her to keep her own will. She knelt down, promised to behave, and assured him that the prison would also become his territory. She could tell that her master had a long-term plan for taking control of the prison. She asked him what she wanted him to do. He told her to prove her worth. Then he stated that 3 days ago, a metallic mimic beast that invaded the fortress wasn't fully killed. The military is looking for a containment facility to receive it. He instructed her to apply, to have a Blackwater prison's beast pit to accept it. She replied that normally, the prison couldn't afford to raise an S-rank metallic mimic beast. But since she understands her master's intentions, she will do as instructed and secure their first S-rank monster. When that was settled, Yuan ordered her to arrange for him to leave the prison immediately. Once the S-rank monster arrives, she will have to notify him. She told him that when he leaves the prison alive, the Wong family's forces and the 9th grade ability user will likely come after him at once, which means that if he hides inside the prison, he'd be much safer. He replied that hiding is useless and he prefers to strike first. Days later, at the Thunder Ability Training Hall, Yuan has arrived. When he entered, some men gossiped about him coming straight to the dojo right after getting out of prison. They wondered if he didn't know that his sister's ghost wedding was that day. They think that instead of going home, he's hiding there like a coward. One man speculated that he's there to ask the headmaster for help, but they knew that the headmaster wouldn't risk offending a noble for an ordinary member. Another man suggested that Yuan is looking for Senior Ning, who's always nice to him, but that senior left the fortress recently and went to the northern abyss. They saw him as pitiful. No one dared to help him or stand against the powerful Wong family. He wasn't strong and had always been alone. And now more than ever people were unwilling to get involved with him. A blond man noticed him enter. It was Wei Xing. He reported that they have collected all guest information and movement routes for the ghost wedding. But the 3 electronic bugs monitoring network was about to give out. He replied that he will get him some new ones. He took out his cards and unleashed several flying insects. Xing was surprised at how much there was. Those bugs were scattered in the prison, so Yuan collected them. Just 3 bugs were enough to take control of the prison surveillance and the Wong family's network. And with that many, they could monitor half of the fortress. Yuan received the synchronized data and ordered him to keep monitoring the Wong family and everyone involved in the ghost wedding. Xing wished him to be careful, because all 4 teammates of Yin were there for the ghost wedding. They're the strongest 9th ability users of the generation. And since the bone-faced beast isn't found yet, a monster barrier has been placed over the wedding site. Yuan assured him that he had a plan. Xing yelled that as the only members of the anti-Wong family alliance, they must both survive. 3 months ago, Xing was almost caught spying on Kai, and he was saved by Yuan. From that day on, he swore to follow him and fight the Wong family. Yuan stated that he saved him back then because they share the same goal, and he never expected a pervert who used to sneak photos of campus girls to be driven to revenge because one of them was pushed into the abyss. He wanted to take revenge for him too. Then we saw a monster truck was being driven. The driver asked the counselor if he's really going to be the officiant for the ghost wedding. He questioned if the living can really marry the dead. The man replied that a lowborn girl marrying a deceased noble is the highest honor she'll ever get. He added that if not that, a mere commoner wouldn't have access to him to officiate the wedding. He thinks that in a way she was lucky the driver had heard that. The final step in a ghost wedding is killing the bride. The counselor knew that, and he'd personally slit her throat. So she returns to the underworld forever and serves the Wong family's second son. The driver brought up the topic of the bone-faced beast that attacked the second son, and he thinks that attending the wedding would be risky. But the counselor wasn't worried. It was because his black dust armored car can resist tank-class attacks. So even if the bone-faced beast shows up, it won't break through the armor. But just as they finished talking about it, the bone-faced beast appeared and stopped the car. It was about to grab them. The driver and the counselor got scared. But the counselor stayed calm, because he trusted the black dust hydraulic armor. Even at full power, one beast can only drain 50% of their defense. He ordered him to drive, but two more bone faces appeared. Now, the counselor panicked. The intel stated that there was only one beast. Yuan watched them from the cliff and ordered them to attack. The hydraulic armor's defense started at 100%, but when the punch landed, it decreased to 70%. The monsters kept punching, so the defense kept decreasing until it reached 1%. The last blow was so powerful that the defense dropped to negative 200%. After that, the bone-faced grabbed the counselor. The man could barely open his eyes. When he opened it, he saw Yuan. He told him to save him, and he will give him a huge reward. Yuan took the ghost blade for the ghost wedding. The counselor begged to be spared, but Yuan slit his throat, and he dropped dead. Then Yuan called another monster, whom he called Shadow. A creepy monster with one-eye mouth, crawled with several limbs. It opened its mouth, and some black mist came out of the counselor's mouth. Towards the monster, then a shadow started to form. Using shadow disguise skill, Yuan was disguised as the counselor, which would last for 2 hours. He'd be the one to fulfill the ghost marriage pact at the Narcissist Noble Cemetery. One attendee had heard that the ghost bride is really beautiful. One person replied that no matter how beautiful she is, she's still a burial offering. They knew that inside the fortress, the commoners are playthings of the elites. They heard a rumor that the killer of the royal family's second son is still on the loose, but they aren't worried, because the royals have hired some of the strongest, ninth-rank espers of the younger generation, and they set up an inescapable trap. If the real culprit dares to show, they know it won't come out alive. They were surprised with a sudden explosion. It was the 9th Abyss Squad, and they threw ahead of a D-class monster skull of the underworld ram. On the ground, Lightning told Yin that it's their gift. The people who saw him got excited. There's a rumor that he were about to awaken. The royal family had even promised him the right to massacre civilian Zone K, where the bride's father lived, after the wedding. That bloodthirsty maniac agreed without hesitation because of it. Yin was relieved to see him because with his presence, the ceremony's safety is guaranteed. He told Yin, the barrier master, that if even one monster appeared within the cemetery, he would kill him. Yin assured him that monsters below us rank can't move within his barrier. Meanwhile, Observer Yu is in charge of monitoring the cemetery, and if any monsters get close to the barrier, he'd know. To his surprise, something had appeared. He went off to handle it. He's great at psychic tracking, so they trust that he'll soon locate the controller of the monster. Yin claimed that the mysterious enemy is already doomed. A bug got zapped. Observer Yu believes that he's about to catch a big fish with the bug in his hand. He used psychic tracking, and he had traced Xing. He went for him, while planning to look into his memories to find the real mastermind. Unexpectedly, the world turned dark. He realized that it was psychic pollution. He found it impossible to have backlash since the controller was weak, but he fell head first and died. Yuan used the D-class monster Soul Howl for that. As expected, Yuan's trap caught the observer perfectly. Now that he's gone, Yuan's disguise won't be detected. A few minutes later, the counselor arrived. The first thing that came out of his mouth is complaining about how a guest is being treated. He didn't like that Yan's dad didn't even come out to greet him, and sent a brat instead. Yin apologized and explained that his father is busy with the banquet. He hoped for his understanding. Then he escorted him. The counselor wanted to see the bride at once. The audience saw that he arrived pissed. They wondered if the royal family accidentally offended him. At the cemetery foyer, Lightning was worried that the scout hadn't returned. One of his subordinates replied that there wasn't any intel. It made them wonder if something happened. Lightning ordered them to go find him quickly. When the subordinate went out, the counselor saw him and called him over. This guy called Freezer Han was confused that the counselor wanted to see him. The counselor told him to come over at once, since he had questions for him. The counselor intimidated him, and when he learned he was planning to leave, he demanded to know who would guarantee his safety, especially with those ninth-tier bastards being the strongest ones there. He declared that no one was allowed to leave without his permission. Freezer Han replied that it concerns the safety of their teammate. Ian supported that even if the counselor is noble, their squad operates independently, and he has no authority to interfere. That offended him, and told them that would be the case if they have awakened, but they aren't. He suggested that they will freeze their Abyss Pass for 3 months and temporarily suspend their exploration funds from the Fortress Foundation. In addition, due to government construction, their families will be relocated from official shelters to slum zones. That scared them. The audience who witnessed that was curious about what was happening. It was evident that the counselor used his powers to suppress the 9th-level ability users. They realized that he is, as the rumors say, doing anything for his own benefit. Lightning heard that and replied that they got it. He had a dark expression on his face, where he accepted that they would stay there and protect him with their lives. The audience started gossiping. Lightning was about to awaken, and Counselor Huang had targeted him. They think that for short-term safety. He created a powerful enemy in the future. The counselor yelled that no one cared about the future, and the priority was his safety. Then he called the Wang family's brat to escort him to the bride. Meanwhile, the father of Kai was looking at a mirror and told Ling that the efficient is about to arrive, so she better behave. Ling replied that as long as he keeps his word and releases her brother, there will be no problem. But if he breaks his promise, she threatens him that not even death will save him from her. He replied that he never breaks his word, and once the wedding is over, her brother would walk free. He expects the butler to bring her brother out of the prison. The counselor suddenly entered and told her that she worries too much, when the principal would definitely let her bother her. Then he added that if the principal breaks his word, he won't even rest in his grave. The principal told him that he's right. Ling requested from the officiating counselor that he seeks to oversee his brother's safe release. He replied that it's not a problem, and as the wedding officiant, he promised that if her brother isn't released, he'd send the whole Wang family straight to hell. He asked Principal Wang if he could make that promise. Principal Wang turned pale, but still replied yes. In his head, the counselor is really acting hard. Ling expressed that whatever the cause, she just wanted her brother to be safe. Deep inside, Yuan thinks that she doesn't need to pay any price. The principal told the maid to take the counselor to the VIP washroom to get ready, since the ghost wedding will begin in 5 minutes. And she escorted him. They descended the staircase. Then she told Yuan to run because sneaking there is suicide, especially when he's just a level 6 ability user. He was surprised that she saw through his disguise and detected his ability. He asked if she's a psychic user. She replied that she's only at level 3. Then back to what she was saying. She emphasized that it's a death trap and he shouldn't be there. She told him that besides the 5 9th level in plain sight, the principal also gathered elite graduates, forming a 100-person, 9th level ambush team hidden throughout the cemetery. And she thinks that he's too weak and will be a cannon fodder if caught. That was quite a lineup, but he's more curious on what and is doing there. She replied that she's there to repay a debt. She narrated how she was saved by the bone-faced monster from Kai, and now the Wang family has to set up a trap for it. She couldn't just sit by and watch it die. He asked what she's planning. She told him not to worry about it, because she'll use her psychic power to warn it when it approaches. And if she must, she'll sacrifice herself to create a path for it to escape. Yuan couldn't believe that she'd go that far for a bone-faced monster. She argues that it's more than just a monster, because it saved her from the abyss. She claimed that it was her beacon of light. Then she told him that he's just a lowly 6th level user, so he shouldn't dare talk down on her savior. Then she urged him to go at once, since it was his only chance. Her plan was to find a way to create a distraction so he can't escape. But Yuan saw that they were out of time. The doors opened and the counselor was welcomed. It was announced that the ghost wedding ceremony would begin. The counselor announced that the first step is to introduce the bride. He asked if it's time for her entrance. Freezer Han told them to wait for a moment because they had discovered that a cockroach sucked into the ceremony, and they needed to take care of that first. The audience asked what was going on with security that tight. They couldn't believe that someone got in. Yuan was observing they pointed it on and had confirmed. She used a fake identity to sneak in. She used telepathy, and since she's doomed anyway, she decided to use psychic interference. For one final strike, she'd count to 3 while he runs. She used psychic bursts. But when Freezer Hand was about to strike, Yuan blocked it, then he stabbed him in the chest. On asked him why he didn't run. Lightning realized that he's not the real counselor, and he was just using a disguise ability. Yin asked what his goal was. He shared that his goal is to leave no survivors. Lightning thinks it's a joke, since his psychic ability is only at tier 6, and the wretched woman had already exhausted her power. He told him that he can't escape either. He ordered him to kneel and confess all his crimes. He told him that it was just the beginning. He shuffled his cards and released it in the air. Lightning made a barrier to block it. He called him a clown. Ing couldn't believe that Han died to someone like him. It made him laugh, but to his surprise, in a blink of an eye, his finger was sliced. Yin told them to watch out since the card flew from behind. But that didn't help much because Yan's head had already been cut. He noticed that the card was supersonic. On asked him how his psychic power spiked to peak tier 9. Although he can't summon monsters in the barrier, he could equip their cards. And that's how his psychic control jumped from tier 6 to peak tier 9 in an instant. Lightning stated that control-type users are fragile as paper, even if he cheats to reach tier 9. He's confident that he can reduce him to dust with a single flick. He added that he should consider it kindness, that he'll see the wrath of the Thunder God before he dies. On apologized to him, that she no longer has enough energy left to interfere and help him escape. She got zapped, along with the others. When Lightning used the electromagnetic thunder field, Yuan asked if that was the legendary Thunder Pressure Fist. Lightning replied yes, and told him that it's time that he faces divine punishment. To his surprise, a big muscular shadow has formed. He was annoyed to face another illusion created by psychic interference. He vowed to shatter them all using his Ultra Thunder Pressure Fist, but when the dust was gone, he saw the face of the large monster before him, and unexpectedly, there wasn't even a scratch on it. He questioned how a monster of the Awakener level was there. Yuan called him an idiot, and pointed out that he just killed the barrier master, so naturally the barrier was gone. The monster encased lightning in its hand, which made him panic. Yuan replied that he's simply swatting a fly. When the monster closed its hand, blood gushed out from the crevices. It rained blood in the hall. Yin was dumbfounded then. He realized that the one who killed his brother was standing in front of him. He asked him what he's after. Yuan carried, and on the way out, he replied that he's there to hold a ghost wedding, and that was the beginning of it. He planned to send the whole Wong family down there to reunite. At the same time, someone appeared on the scene. It was Principal Wong, who had been waiting for Yuan. Yuan asked him if he's that eager to avenge his son. He was furious. He reasoned that if he doesn't avenge him, then he's not worthy of being his father. He planned to claim back justice to his family. Yuan questioned him about the people his son killed. On top of that, he initiated a ghost wedding. But Principal Wong arrogantly replied that the lives of commoners are worth less than ants inside the fortress, and no one takes responsibility for ants crushed underfoot. He added that Lin family's daughter being buried with his son is his act of showing grace to the Lin family. He told Yuan that he wouldn't be able to leave, so he ordered to begin the extermination. Yen called the extermination squad, made up of elite student council members from every generation of Radiance Academy, and ordered to surround Yuan. Those men enthusiastically charged in. They surrounded the halls, determined not to let him get away. That's what Yuan wanted too, because he doesn't want anyone to live anyway. He reasoned that a true wedding should send all of them to the underworld. Then he summoned a black and white Wuchang beast, grade 0 and hasn't evolved yet. Those monsters played some kind of instrument. Yin was surprised to see these. He wondered what they were. The monsters then used their skill. Then it released a bright purple light outside the building, and it sucked the soul of the extermination squad out of their body. One of them recognized that it was a soul-locking monster. that attacks with sound waves in the abyss. Encountering them often leads to total wipeouts. She told them to stay within 10 meters of her, and they can resist the sonic attack. Yin ordered everyone to gather around. The 4 student council presidents, who had been half awakened in strength, and they would proceed with their plan. One of those presidents is President Lin, who can protect them within a 10-meter radius. She stated that anyone who gets close will be killed by her. The other one is President Zhu, who has a protection radius of 20 meters. He firmly told them that he doesn't protect the weak. Then there's President Twilight with a 30 meters protection radius. And lastly, President Mo with a 500 meters protection radius. He stated that the soul-locking beast uses sonic attacks, but it has extremely weak physical defense. He locked onto its weak points already. Everyone agreed to follow him. Unexpectedly, it started snowing. When inspected, it was paper copper coins for the ghost wedding, but it was poisonous. The guy that was poisoned spluttered out blood from his torso. Several men experienced that too. It was like the poison was cutting out their body, making them bleed. Ian identified that it was the spores from a monster called corpse mother vine. It was a large round monster with tentacles. It appeared at the top of the cross of the cemetery. Yuan stated that in a ghost wedding, everything should be buried with it. President Mo stated that the corpse mother vine is only a grady monster, but as long as its roots reach the graves, it can use corpses as nourishment and evolve rapidly. Because of that, he could tell that it already evolved to grade C with the cemetery, holding both nobles and the remains of powerful figures. The corpse mother vine could evolve to its limit until none of them could survive. But President Mo states that it's unfortunate for the murderer to run into him, because nothing they planned would succeed. He ordered that they weren't strong enough to find cover, to avoid the spores. While the presidents advanced with him at full speed, he was confident that if they could defeat it before it evolves, they would win. The presidents agreed. They covered their body with aura and flew towards it, seeing the cannon fire as dense as a blizzard. President Lin knew they couldn't advance. President Mo replied that it's not a big deal. He told everyone to form up according to his instructions, so they can break through easily. Inside the hall, Yin had observed the tactic of the enemy, which is to use corpse vine spores to prevent the 100-man corps from teaming up to kill him. He doubted if the 4 great guild leaders could take him down alone. His father assured him that there's nothing to worry, since they have Wang Mo, a genius that he picked up from the slums. Mo is the guardian of the fortress that their Wang family built, with endless resources. He can even be considered a monster with 100% win rate, even against awakened class beasts in the abyss. That made him confident that a freak like him will do whatever it takes to win. But looking at the guild leaders, it was like life sucked out of them. They could feel their powers being absorbed. President Mo stated that the reason for his 100% win rate isn't just because he can predict every battlefield change within 10 minutes, and it's because he's willing to sacrifice every win. Yin got overwhelmed seeing how President Mo temporarily awakened, and he even devoured 3 great guild leaders. Contrary to him, President Wang was pleased to see that the genius from the slums would stop at nothing to reach his goals. Years ago, the brother who raised Mo opposed the adoption, so Mo burned him alive in his own home. Mo told him that his spatial ability has already sealed off the space. With that, he was certain that even a bone-faced beast can't break through, while the corpse vine still needs 3 minutes to finish evolving. Unexpectedly, a beam of light pierced through it and hit his chest. He couldn't believe that the seal was broken, and he was surprised when he saw that the corpse's mother vine had evolved. He found it impossible since there were 3 minutes left. Yuan replied that he equipped the monster with an evolution speed of plus 10%. Principal Wang couldn't believe that Mo was taken down. It made him furious his son was gone. Now even his foster son was dead too. Yuan could tell that the foster son mattered even more than his own son. He knew that Principal Wang poured countless resources into him, expecting him to eventually make him the president of the fortress. But now his hope was gone. Yuan told him that his thirst for revenge made him use his trump card early. And now the Wang family's future is completely ruined. Principal Wang asked who he was and questioned what the Wang family had ever done to him for him to destroy them like that. Coincidentally, the time was up for the disguise skill, and it revealed who he truly is. Principal Wang was surprised to find Yuan, especially when the prison confirmed that he was killed. Yuan revealed that the death notice that the prison gave him was written by him. He remembered that he brought him a gift for the ghost marriage. It was the head of the steward. Turns out he is also the older brother of Principal Wang. Out of anger, Yin attacked him, determined to kill Yuan even if it killed him. His attack was blocked with a barrier from the skill, Space Enshroudment. The foster son that Principal Wang poured his heart into became a guard for the corpse Mother Vine. He's liking the spatial abilities of MO, since it was truly useful. He deemed that it was time for the foster son to escort the whole family to the afterlife. Principal Wang tried to use Yuan's sister to bargain with him, but Yuan gave the order to kill to Mo. He shattered the barrier using his ability called Space Shatter. And just like that, the Wang family members were reduced to ashes. Our MC was oblivious that the moment he killed the sealer, he switched his sister with a shadow double the bone-faced, carried on while he carried his sister, so they could go home before the doom. Envoys of the fortress arrived a few days later. A group of people in black hood with candle marches on the street, while yelling that the apocalypse will eventually come. Only by worshipping monsters can they survive. They encourage the people to join them, to preserve themselves and be the last spark of humanity. They claim that the cemetery that shook the entire fortress marks the true arrival of the monsters, and that the fortress can't protect them. Worshipping monsters would be their only way out. Our boy listened to them and became a member of the cult and spread news that she recommends Boneface Beast #1 since it once saved her. She claimed that it's a divine messenger truly benefiting humanity. She told them that she had devoted herself to it. Yuan thinks it's a bit much since it was just a bone-faced beast. She invited Yuan to join them too, especially when he's one of the survivors from the cemetery incident. She told him that without her master, a 6th-tier ability user like him would already be dead. Yuan inquired on how she worships it. She passionately replied that she will devote everything to her master, her soul, body, and all to be used at its will. It's her way of showing her devotion. Yuan suggests that she holds back and leaves, but she didn't want him to go, since her goal is to make the bone-faced beast famous in the organization, then bring it to the world stage, and make it one true god of that world. Deep inside, Yuan felt that the world is heading in a strange direction. Mo arrived from the Justice Division. UN confirmed that no one has found out that the youngest deputy minister of the Justice Division is already dead. Corpse Guard Mo replied that he's extremely careful, so there's no chance of being exposed. He followed his instructions and erased all traces he might have left during the cemetery battle, using his authority. He also reported that Huang Long, who inherited all of the Wang family's assets, has been investigated. He's the strongest fire element, awakened in the fortress with countless disciples, and Yin had officially registered to become his disciple. With that information, Yuan is now aware of why Long had sought a meeting with him. After devouring the Wang family's assets, Long is now pretending to resolve the feud on their behalf. Keeping that in mind, Yuan decided to meet him. Mo warned him to be cautious because Long is very strong. He suggested that he avoids direct conflict with him. Yuan had his own plan, so he told Mo to continue being undercover in the Justice Division. He emphasized that Mo is just a corpse guard card. Mo replied that he's already dead, and the life he has now belongs to him, his master, and he fully accepts that he may reclaim it any time. He vowed to be his most loyal dog. Yuan told him to go and wait for his next command. Yuan is aware that Mo's ambition is to control this fortress, but he became his 7 corpse vine subordinate cards. And because of that, Yuan had this urge to fulfill his ambition. With that, he's off to meet Huang Long at the Fire Dragon Ability Hall. Yuan went inside. There were several men wearing red jackets guarding on the side, making a path leading towards the person on the throne. The man on the throne asked Yuan if he's the Lin family's representative. Yuan replied yes. The man stated that he had taken over the Wang family's assets as a mentor, so he had the duty to resolve their lingering grievances. He threw white clothing at him, then stated how Yuan's sister was supposed to complete a ghost marriage with the Wang family's second son. But the entire Wang family died during that ghost marriage incident, and even though the killer is unknown, he wanted Yuan's family to pay with their lives. Yuan recognized that the clothes were mourning clothes. Long told him that they have 3 days, and after that, their whole family of 3 must put on the paper clothes and burn charcoal to commit suicide. That's how he wanted to settle the matter. Yuan asked what would happen if he refused. Long replied that no one can refuse an awakened one in the fortress, and refusing an awakened one means paying a price worse than death. Yuan stated that he's as powerful as them too, and he already qualified for the awakened exam. So technically he's registered as pre-awakened, and if Long touches him before the exam, he will be going against the legislative body of the Great Awakening exam, which means even as an awakened one, he'll be executed by the fortress's doomsday envoys. The disciples were surprised to hear that. They thought that he was just a regular student. Long admits that he's a clever one for using the most highly regarded awakening exam in the fortress as a shield, but since he stepped into his turf, he knew he could just kill him and frame it to someone else. Yuan calls him a simple-minded fool and suggests that before he acts, he should think first. Yuan knew not to dare to come there alone. Long got triggered and he demonstrated his powers, while claiming that all struggle and schemes are meaningless against a true awakened one. Yuan still insists that he can't kill him. This made long releases of more flames. But the disciples were confused, because the temperature had rapidly dropped. Even if Long had exuded fire, the disciples at the sides were encased in ice. Long knew it was the glacier effect. He was impressed that Yuan had found an ice-type awakened. As his backer, a woman with a blindfold appeared. She asked Yuan if he wanted her to kill the old man. This woman is named Ning Xuan. Long is aware that the ice-type awakened naturally restrains fire-type, but he's confident since he's the strongest flame, and he'd do everything to turn them into ashes, even if he burns his soul blood. Yuan knew that they would have to fight one day, but that time he didn't need the help of his senior Ning. Once again, he reiterated that he wouldn't be able to kill him. He pointed out that if he attacks by force, with his senior sister protecting him, not only he will fail, but also the Doomsday Envoys will execute him for disrupting the grand trial. He suggested they save their fight until after he awakened from the grand trial. Long was amused that he's confident that he'd pass the trial. Yuan replied that whether he passes or not, once he no longer has the trial's protection, he can strike him down anytime. Then he left with his senior sister. Ning told Long that the extreme frost effect will end in 30 seconds. She warned him that if he touched his junior brother before the trial, even if she can't kill him, she'd still slaughter all his disciples. While walking outside, she told Yuan that she will soon head back down into the northern abyss. She pointed out that she protected him this time, but in the end, he would have to face it himself. She emphasized that cultivation must not be delayed. Yuan understands that, and he's well aware that she only protects him because she sees potential in him and values their friendship. But in the end, he only has himself to rely on. But he's curious as to why she'd return to the abyss soon, when she just got back. She gave a vague reply, that it's because the world had become even more dangerous, and even Fortress number 26 was at risk. She knew that even their fortress is no longer safe. So she advised him to get stronger, fast, and pass the awakened grand trial. Yuan was confident about that, and just like that she said goodbye. But Yuan told her to wait. He removed the leaf on his forehead. She blushed, but also she warned him not to get close to her again so suddenly. Otherwise, she'd instinctively draw her sword. Then she set off. Deep inside, Yuan knew that she only came back from the abyss because of his request. That motivated him to grow stronger enough to protect her. A black shiny car drove by him. Yuan was pleased to know that he judged her correctly, that she's capable of doing difficult tasks and accomplishing them in just a few days. She replied that it's her duty to lessen his burdens. She admits that there were bumps in the process, but after she threw the key man's wife and kids to the black prison, the man signed a contract. Seeing how she's ruthless and decisive, he could tell that the warden's position suits her perfectly. She invited her to the black prison to oversee the whole matter. Yuan made his way to the car. at the Black Prison Underground Auction Avenue. They are curious to know where the Black Prison got their inspiration. This time, they could tell that a lot of good stuff was squeezed out of the death row. Inmates and tickets alone are very much profitable already. They commend the new warden for being a genius in the underworld. They could tell that whoever marries her will save themselves 10 years of hard work. But a man disagreed because he knew that even if she looked delicate, she's also high and mighty like a queen, and people like them couldn't reach her. Meanwhile, in the VIP room, Lin was kneeling on the floor when she offered her master the catalog for the auction for him to review. When Yuan reviewed it, he realized that, aside from the treasures that they prepared from the Black Prison, she also managed to get loot from several major crime organizations. He praised her for it. She shared that. She even lured them into adding items that her master specifically wanted to the auction list. He commended her for doing well. Their main goal is to raise funds, so Black Prison can contain the S-Class metallic mimic beast. But if he liked that, he could also get the treasure that he always wanted. She gave him a heads up that the particular item is expected to attract many competitors, and she can't guarantee that he will win a bid. She suggested killing everyone from the Shadow Thieves and stealing it. Yuan replied that there's no need for that and risk being discovered, and besides he enjoyed a fair competition. He wanted to join the auction as a regular competitor. The auction started, and she welcomed everyone to the Black Prison auction. She described it as the forbidden land of law and order. It was like a feast of end-of-the-world treasures from the dark. A fat man noticed her red knees and speculated that she was kneeling. For a long time the man beside her got triggered upon hearing that, because he thinks that she is someone who stands above them all, so she won't kneel just to please someone. He wanted to think that she just bumped into something. The woman in front shushed them. Since the first auction item was coming out, Lin hands over the mic to the host. When they removed the red cover, it unveiled an old man strapped in a chair and gagged. The crowd were quite disappointed. The host introduced the old man. He is Dr. Mark, a death row inmate scheduled for electrocution at dawn. Hearing the name, the crowd immediately recognized that it was the serial killer who committed 18 murders. They find it disgusting, so they couldn't fathom that he was still auctioned. One person reasoned that it's because the man had never failed any surgery. And in their doomsday world where everyone fears for their lives, a top-tier surgeon like him is worth a fortune. One of the audience bids $2 million because his father needed a heart surgery. But another man bids higher because he needs to have spinal surgery. The host clarified to everyone that the starting bid for Dr. Mark is $50 million. It was surprising for everyone. Someone can be heard complaining that it's too expensive. A middle-aged man shared that his son suffered brain damage in the abyss, and so he wanted to have Dr. Mark. This man is one of the 10 great families of the fortress, the head of the Ho family. Ho Day with that. He bids $50 million. A red-haired woman bids $55 million because their shining aeromedical needs a top surgeon. This woman is the CEO, Shu Bing. Another person bid $56 million, but the others continued to bid and it reached $60 million. Bing argues that she wants to save humanity, so she bids $85 million. That angered D, so he doubled the offer to $170 million. He threatened that if anyone dared to block his son's lifeline, he'd spend that money on his funeral instead. They could tell that the man had lost his mind. On the other hand, Black Prison hits the jackpot for a zero-cost prisoner who was sold at almost $200 million. Bing had a scowl on her face. The host congratulated Huadai for winning Dr. Mark. He warned them that Dr. Mark's mental state is unstable, so they should use him with caution. Then he brought out the items 2, 3, and 4. Item 2 is the heart of an ice-type superhuman that was just executed, with perfect body compatibility. It grants Tier 3 ice abilities upon transplant. Item 3 is a female prisoner with hypnosis powers. She's a specialist for insomnia for the wealthy, and could be contracted for 3 years. The item 4 is a personal hotel owned by a grade death row inmate. It has a built-in top-class club refuge level defense system, which makes it a perfect doomsday shelter. Each item started at $1 million. The crowd went wild. Different offers came through for different items. Yuan was pleased that they are on track. on securing the 300 million security deposit to contain the S-class metallic mimic beast. He commended her for her gifts from heaven, her item selection and business-mindedness. She blushed then. She expressed her gratitude by saying that he can untie the ribbon on his gift anytime the spider monster appeared on the ceiling, since they all belong to their master. Yuan told them to stop and go back to business. Lin reported that just as her master predicted, the first item was won by the Hua family, the main sponsor of the Fire Dragon Dojo. Their budget for the dojo is sure to be cut drastically low because of that, and more importantly, since the Hua family had forcefully taken the doctor, they made enemies. Yuan grinned, because he knew that the moment the Hua family supported the Fire Dragon Dojo, their fate was sealed. Moving on from that, he asked, which item contains the material needed to evolve the Abyssal Silver Spider? The next item on the auction is one of their highlights. It is the Blood Arit statue from the Hidden Thieves group. It was crafted by Hong, one of the 3 great sculptors of the apocalypse. Besides its artistic value, its main function is to provide cultivation energy within a 300-meter radius. Some dojos don't even have treasures like that. It's absolutely something all dojos and noble families dream of. The starting bid is 50 million. In addition to that, it can also cause certain monsters to evolve. Zhao Yuan, a 9th disciple, an awakened one from the Thunder Ability Dojo, thinks the Blood Arhut is the ideal gift to propose to Ning Xuan. With it, he knew that the Ning family wouldn't refuse. The crowd noticed him, since he had been winning the previously auctioned items 2 and 4 because of that. They could tell how the Jiao family is one of the richest noble families. They also gossiped that the Jiao and the Ning families already have a marriage agreement, but Xuan had always been against it. And with the Blood Arhut, the Ning family could pressure her to agree. Zhao Yuan stated that Xuan is foolish for clashing with Fire Dragon Dojo, just for the pretty weak boy Lin Yuan. He felt relieved that he has good connections with Long, because he's expecting that. As long as he personally delivers Lin Yuan to him, things will calm down, but at that moment, he focused on winning the Blood Arhut first and seal the engagement. Meanwhile, Yuan was actually baiting him. Half a year ago at West Abyss Plaza, the Thunder Dojo trial disciple team was training. They complained that they have been kneeling forever, and yet the 9th senior brother leading them is still not there. It made them wonder if he's messing with them. One guy called him an arrogant noble genius, but a twisted freak who enjoys tormenting weaklings like them. Zhao Yuan showed up flying, because the 9th senior is already coming, and if he'd be heard, his tongue would be cut. Zhao Yuan apologized that he came late because of oversleeping. The complaining disciple muttered that the overly enthusiastic junior sisters from last night are to be blamed. The disciple in front of him replied that, instead of being enthusiastic, they are more likely threatened, since anyone who resists would end up dead at his hands. They wanted that psycho to be punished. But Zhao Yuan told them not to resent him, just because they knelt too long. He arrogantly stated that to an awakened ones like him, born of noble blood, the low-born ability, users like them are mere mortals, and mortals who resent God shall face divine punishment. He told them that they are merely cannon fodder, going into the abyss trial, and will never have the right to feel anger towards a god. Then he warned them that Joanne will be on trial, and she is his. He warned them to stay away from her. He wouldn't even allow them to think of her. He let out a powerful strike, and that killed many of the trainees, just to demonstrate what would happen if they make a move on her. He was confident that in that world, no one can ever compete with him for anything. Back at the auction house, he was arrogant that none of them would compete with him, because they are nobodies. He was confident that no one would fight him for the things that he wanted. Bing bid 60 million since their rehabilitation center needs. The Blood are hot. Curator Liang Jin of the Blood Sun Museum bids 70 million for his private collection. Zhao Yin bids 100 million. The other people in there were overwhelmed, especially when it's the third item to break 100 million. Bing bids 110 million, however. Jin wanted it too, so he bid 120 million to crush him. Xiao Yin dropped a 200 million offer. He knew that Jin's private museum was just an assassin training base. He threatened him that if he angers him, he'll burn it on the ground the next day. And as for Bing, He knew she couldn't fight him because her budget is only 190 million. Those two looked crushed. Zhao Yin emphasized that whatever he wants, no one can take it away from him. Lin corrected them that it's not over yet because the VOP from the private room has placed a bid. It was 201 million. The young master, Zhao, raised his bid to 220 million. The VIP bids 221 million. Young master Jiao feels like the VIP is doing that on purpose, since he kept raising the bid by just 1 million. He started to feel annoyed. So he asked if the organizers won't even do something about it. Lin replied that it meets the minimum requirement, so the auction will continue. That pushed the young master Zhao to bid 250 million. The VIP bids 251 million. The young master of the Zhao family raised his bid to 260 million, which led to VIP bidding 261 million. This went on until they reached 301 million. Since Zhao Yuan is getting pissed, he inquired who this VIP is. He stated that in the fortress, the Zhao family still holds some influence. He added that the item concerns the marriage alliance between the Zhao and the Ning families. He added that it's crucial for him to marry Xuan. So he told the VIP to show some respect and stop bidding. The VIP flashed on the screen. Who do you think you are demanding respect from me? The next message told Xiao Yuan to get lost. Xiao Yuan couldn't hold back anymore and told him that there's consequences of offending an awakened one. He didn't expect that his behavior would lead to the army pointing guns at him. Lin announced that the Black Prison has its own rules, and even awakened. Ones who break the rules will be suppressed by black radiation guns. She added that if he caused more trouble, he'll lose his bidding rights. He grits his teeth and bids 500 million. Yuan was pleased that he did that, with that the trap that he laid was triggered. That was surprising. The crowd was aware that even for the Xiao family, 500 million isn't a small sum. Jing knew that. 500 million is the absolute limit of what the spoiled brat can use, but then no one can compete with that. Zhou, when pointed out how the VIP dared to compete with him, when it didn't even deserve to sit there. But as if to tease him, Yuan bids 800 million. The crowd went wild. They started wondering if the blood Arat is really worth that much. The crowd realized that the VIP was crazier than Zhao Yuan. The VIP flashed on the screen an insult to Zhao Yuan. He called him weakling and told him to leave. Of course, Zhao Yuan reacted to that. He was so pissed off that veins on his face were showing. A blond man appeared and offered the young master Zhao a hand in terms of funding. Dark organizations, as long as Zhao Yuan has collateral, he can borrow any amount. Zhao Yuan was pissed at this loan shark agent, trying to exploit the situation. Xing clarified that he's just trying to help him, while earning a small commission on the side. And according to the information he has, Zhao Yuan had controlled the mines deep within the Zhao family's abyss. But the funds he can actually access are only 600 million. Xing also knew that for some reason, the Zhao family desperately needed a marriage alliance with the Ning family, and the blood arat was the key. So he suggested that if the young master used 2 of his mines as collateral, he would lend him 1 billion. She asked if there's anyone who wants to bid higher. Xing prompted Zhao Yuan to sign and told him that the funds will be transferred immediately. The VIP flashed an insulting message on the screen to provoke Zhao Yuan. It made Zhao Yuan so angry that he grabbed the pen. Xing whispered to Zhao Yuan that he had intel, suggesting the VIP couldn't spend more than 1.2 billion if they bid that amount directly. The VIP wouldn't have time to mobilize funds, allowing them to end it in one decisive move. Zhao Yuan, however, questioned whether such an extreme measure was truly necessary, but he did it anyway. Everyone thinks he's insane. With that amount, the crowd had also confirmed that the Xiao family really owns some mines. It really has reached a point of no return, and that was what our boy was aiming for. The VIP bids 1.6 billion, though everyone's jaw dropped. Xing was unfazed and informed Zhao Yuan that if he signs the new contract, he will provide him with another 1 billion in funds. But he'll have to use his 6 remaining mines as collateral assets. Zhao Yuan's head whipped to him and questioned his intel that said that the VIP can't use more than 1.2 billion. Xing simply replied that they missed out. The hidden funds that the VIP had. He instructed him that this time, After putting up the collateral, he should immediately bid $2 billion. And if he doesn't win, both the old and new contracts can be voided at once. At this point, Zhao Yuan is already fuming. Naturally, he'd sign the new contract. Eventually, the VIP fell silent. The people couldn't believe what just happened. They never imagined that the Shao family would pay such a huge price for a marriage alliance. Zhao Yuan proudly announced that whatever he set his eyes on, no one can compete with him. Lin announced that he won. Xing congratulated him and also reminded him to pay interest on time and ensure that collateral assets remain problem-free. He warned him that if he failed to do so, he'll encounter the entire fortress's dark forces, and that organization is deeply entangled with countless nobles. Zhu Yuan arrogantly replied that he won't default because he's a god, and once he gains Shuang, he expects to be the true god of the fortress at the VIP room. Lin informed Yuan that the blood auret is a damaged artifact, and because of that the size can be greatly adjusted. Before the auction, the spider evolution materials that Yuan needed were already removed, ensuring flawless evolution for the spider. The array carved into the blood auret was already tampered with by Hong's death row disciple. Once it's given to the Ning family, the cultivators will fall into madness, and the marriage alliance will completely collapse. Zhao Yuan immediately made his way to his chopper. Xin reported to Yuan that all the contracts have been signed. The mining rights have all been mortgaged to major dark organizations, and soon information will leak out, showing that those mines can no longer be exploited due to heavy corruption by shadow creatures. At that point, the major crime syndicates that issued the loans will pressure the Jia family for repayment, and the Jia family would be thrown into a massive vortex. Lin couldn't help but comment on how her master planned everything perfectly. She asked him what's next. Yuan replied that the seeds have been planted, so they could just wait for it to bloom. He pointed out that their true enemy is the fire dragon, and Zhao Yuan was just the appetizer. The most important thing for him now is the trial of the awakened, which was about to happen in 3 days. The day before the awakened exam, Yuan got up from his bed. Someone barged into his room and started nagging at him. He compared Yuan to his sister. He got up and greeted Lin. Lin informed him that their dad messed up breakfast again, so he should just buy breakfast downstairs. Lin got her pharmacist license, so she's off to the Pharmacist Association. Their dad started comparing them again. He stated that Lin would earn over 10,000 a month and stand out in a crowd while Yuan is just a useless parasite. Yuan encouraged his dad to keep working hard like a laborer, and he went downstairs to get breakfast. His dad told him to wait to give him 200 yuan to spend. He stated that even though he's usually useless, during the monster incident cemetery, he still carried his sister back in the chaos, and that showed his courage. But he knew his son was weak, so he advised him that if he sensed danger, he should stay far away. He replied that he understood and hurriedly left, since the breakfast shop is about to close. His dad kept nagging, but he ran as fast as he could. In his head, having an overprotective dad is such a headache. The shop owner asked him if he'll get his usual. Yuan replied yes. His usual is a meat bun, fried dough sticks, and soy milk. The shopkeeper wrapped it up and gave it to him. He was advised to hurry before someone mugs him. On the way, it was because their world is too dangerous. The lady across the street shared that she watched him grow up, and she knew that he's the most behaved kid on their street. She added that even if he's timid, he's reliable, that she honestly wanted to marry her 40-year-old daughter to him. As Yuan passed by, the adults kept talking to him. He told them that he's heading to school and he'll come help out. After an old man sighed, because of the thought that good kids would just be on the bottom of the food chain. Suddenly, several cars arrived on that street. Those thugs informed them all that their boss just got back from the Blackwater prison, and he wants to meet them all. The people on the street turned pale. Since Biao is back, they know that they are doomed. They knew him as a greedy thug, and the only way to survive is to buy safety from him with money. The man has red hair and has stitches across his forehead. He noticed that the business is booming for all of them, but he stated that with how chaotic things are, security is getting harder to maintain. He offered them a deal that from then on, the protection fees would be tripled if it was raised to triple the amount. Most of them would have to close the shop, and they couldn't really afford anymore. But BIA was determined not to give them a way out. He didn't care if they closed their shops, or just pay up a full year's security fee. He threatened to tear the place down and beat everyone inside, and burn the shop. His men started moving, the shop owners kept begging. Yuan came back to the street because he forgot to pay. When Biao saw him, he got scared. The shopkeepers got worried for him, so they urged him to just go. They told the thugs that an honest kid like him had nothing to do with it, so they shouldn't give him a hard time. The thug demanded that the kid pay the security fees too. Biao turned pale and smacked him good, while asking if he had a death wish. All the thugs dropped on their knees and hands. Biao called a master and explained that he just got out of Blackwater prison, and he didn't know that it was his territory. He admitted that he messed with his friends, and because of that, he deserves to die. Yuan just realized that he's fucked. His image had collapsed, and he had no face to show his neighbors again. Yuan's neighbors are even more shocked. Yuan simply played dumb and told him in a nonchalant face that he had mistaken him for someone else. He suggested that Biao mistook him for Dezhu, the prince of the underworld, his classmate who to be his look-alike. Biao turned pale hearing that. As his subordinate, he knew it would be impossible for him to be mistaken, but he got Yuan's point and stated that it was just all a misunderstanding. He stated that an ordinary student couldn't possibly be the prince of the underworld. Dezhu, now that the misunderstanding had been cleared up, it was time for him to go to school. He reminded those guys not to frighten the neighbors. The neighbors were left dumbfounded, but they believed that Yuan was just mistaken for his classmate. By the gangsters, they had faith that an honest kid like Yuan could never be the master of a gangster boss. Though the woman felt that something was off, but she didn't pay much attention to it, since she believes that Yuan is too honest to have anything to do with the underworld. Little did they know Yuan was just hiding and eavesdropping on them, and he's with the gangsters who were nervous at his presence. When that was settled, he glared at Biao and asked him who gave him the permission to call him master. That question was truly shocking for him. He admitted that the warden calls him master, but he realized he's not qualified to call him that, and he deserves punishment for it. Yuan was quite disappointed, since he released him from black prison to accomplish great things, and yet he's obsessed with collecting protection fees. He reminded him that his new job is to secretly protect his family, and neighbors, they bowed to him and swore to protect the residents of Yangshin Street with their lives. At Jiaowei Academy, Yuan was running towards it when the street sweeper called him. He was about to find him. Since the academy was short on temporary janitors, he negotiated with the supervisor to make a spot for him so he could earn money to help his family. He thanked him and told him that he'd find him after class. The uncle reminded him how it's a great opportunity for students, so he shouldn't miss it, especially when the pay is good. He was left confused when Yuan disappeared, but Yuan actually rode the car parked in front. He told someone to say what he needs to say quickly, because he needs to rush back to school to ask for a leave. Yuan thought about it. Xing had also initiated, informing his dad of becoming the new principal, since the man had raised the top-scoring, academically gifted daughter. They believe he has strong educational values, so the board appointed him principal for 10 years. Yuan was flabbergasted, since the original plan was to give his dad a random, idle position in school. All he wanted his dad to stop cutting fish at the supermarket. Xing replied that he left in such a hurry, so they had a misunderstanding. Yuan told him to let his dad enjoy it for a few days, and then find a good excuse to remove him later. Then he alighted the car. He knocked at the teacher's office and introduced himself. The teacher was happy to see him. She asked where he's been the past few days. She had been searching for him non-stop and couldn't find him. She knows he's an honest child, so she's worried that something bad must have happened to him. He told her that he's fine and explained that he's gone because he had to take care of a relative who has been sick. She felt relieved to hear that. Then she informed him that she's going to be transferred soon, so she won't be able to look after him anymore. She reminded him to make more friends so he won't get bullied. Yuan was intrigued why she's leaving. All of a sudden, the other professor glared at him and blamed him. They told him that Kai tried to cause trouble earlier, and teacher Sia secretly stepped in to shield him several times. Because of that, she offended that director, so the director decided to fire her. That decision was made a month ago, They added that even if the Wong family is gone, the director is still the most powerful person at the academy. They were annoyed that of all people, Yuan just had to provoke Kai. Teacher Sia got mad at them for telling the kid. She told Yuan not to listen to them. Yuan assured her that if she doesn't want to leave, no one can force her. The teachers find it funny because he's just a poor kid, and he talks big. He told him that it was Director Zhao who truly holds real power in the academy. They added that the entire school management sides with the director, so Yuan shouldn't think he can overturn his decisions. Yuan replied that there's no need to get his decision when he could just get lost, and he ought to fire the whole management team if they are on his side 3 days later. The entire school management team was suddenly fired, and only teacher Zia stayed. Under the sunny weather, Yuan took a nap on the rooftop. He was woken up by his classmate because his senior sister was furious. The senior sister had a fiery temper, so Yuan's classmate was worried that he might get whipped if he angered her. Yuan explained that he stayed late helping Sister Lu with her shop, so he decided to catch some sleep there. He thanked his classmate for waking him up. The classmate informed Yuan that the senior sister could have awakened on her own half a year ago, but she purposely stopped advancing to the next rank so she could lead the junior brothers from their hall to participate in the exam. She did it to help Thunderclap Hall win another awakening stone. So even though she has a fiery temper, everyone still respects her deeply. In the Abyss number 9 entrance, the senior sister called them a bunch of fools who refused to improve. She scolded them for not arriving before the superiors arrived. This was senior sister Mu Rongyin. She told them that the Abyss Awakened exam is extremely dangerous, and if they treat it carelessly like that, sooner or later they will die with no corpse left. She also called out those weakling without real strength, and only got the chance by selling their body. She was pertaining to Yuan. That surprised him. She approached him. She was hostile towards him. She told him that senior sister Ning is a martial arts fanatic and naive about worldly affairs, which is why she was deceived by a pretty boy like him. She said it to his face that she despised people like him, who sneak in through dirty connections. She told him that he won't survive in the abyss just by charming women. She also advised him that if he lacks strength, he should quit now, since she also doesn't have the energy to protect him. Yuan smiled at her and assured her that he can take good care of himself. She doubted that. She threw something at him and told him that if he's trapped in a desperate situation inside the abyss, he should activate it and she'll come right away. He thanked her for it. She muttered that pathetic weaklings like him aren't even worth a proper glance from her, but she knew that if he died, senior sister Ning would probably grieve for a long time. Mo entered and announced that there will be a routine inspection. The students were happy to see the Minister of Justice. He caught a lot of students' eyes because of his record-breaking achievement, becoming a Minister of Justice without being awakened. They were being fanatics. Since Mo could be one of the top 3 geniuses of the generation, Rongyin took this chance to rub on Yuan's face how he's just a speck on the ground, especially compared to Mo, who is like the blazing sun. One of the guards asked for her Abyss Access Pass. She forgot it. She asked if the digital pass was okay. The students were shocked to hear that. They couldn't believe her. Missing one of the 2 certificates means instant disqualification, and if she's out there, done too. They claimed that women's vanity will be the death of them. Tears pooled on her eyes. She begged them to let them in. Otherwise, she won't be able to answer to her master and will be severely punished. Mo told her to leave at once. Yuan told him to make an exception. Rongyin called him out for causing trouble, because she knew it won't work unless he's a god. Mo replied that it was not a problem and allowed all of them to enter. Their jaws dropped when it worked. Yuan simply stated that they're lucky. Mo wished them to be safe and well. The students were amused that Mo bowed to them, but they think it was outrageous. Since he's the most arrogant genius, and there's no way he'd be polite, they felt incredibly lucky. Rongyin tripped Yuan, caught her before she reached the ground. She blushed, but she acted prideful. She told him to stop acting nice, since she isn't someone like the senior sister Ning. She even told him not to expect any thanks from her. She walked away furiously. They rode the elevator, but no one knows how deep the Abyss 9 goes. Even by elevator, it takes 3 hours to descend. And since most abyssal data are confidential, they will only find out more things about it once they are down there. Several elevators descended at once. Eventually, they arrived at the destination. The students complained that the 3 hours felt as long as 3 days. In nights, they felt relieved to finally have arrived. They noticed Yuan sleeping in the corner again. Rongyin told them to ignore him. When they got out of the elevator, it was freezing. They felt like they transmigrated to another world. Yuan eventually woke up. Ranjin told him not to stray more than 300 meters from her. She reminded him that even the slightest carelessness can lead to total doom. They were welcomed and informed that the exam will begin at once. The first phase is a survival game. The 10-second countdown started. In the survival game, if they have stayed alive for 48 hours, they will be able to advance to the second round. One student asked if it meant that he can advance if he stays in the square. The other student explained that in 10 minutes, the protective barrier around the square will completely vanish. All security staff will withdraw, and monsters will flood in like a tide. The rewards are incredible. With a stability gem and the half-step awakening stone, awakening increases by at least 90% a rank. Ability potions are also top-notch. Each one has a unique genetic code, making them extremely valuable. If someone unregistered uses one, they will be immediately hunted down by the Drug Administration. Those potions are completely unavailable on the market. Yuan was thinking that with 5 ability potions, he can advance from the 6th to the 9th rank. And since the 9th rank is a necessary condition for awakening, he'll aim for top 10 spot. They asked Rongyin which zone they will be in. Aside from her, they doubted that any of them could last even an hour. They knew it was way too dangerous. Yuan replied that he got it. One man offered to guide people to the blue zone for 1 million when they avail his service. It will help them avoid the monsters that could wipe them out early on, or falling deeper into the abyss. A lot of people were interested. A student suggested to Rongyin to join too, since it could save them a lot of trouble. And it's safer to stick with a big group. She agreed to it, and planned to leave the group after they reached the blue zone. 1 hour later, the guide informed them that once they cross the black sand zone, they will arrive in the blue zone. One of the men in the group felt like he just wasted money, since there weren't even any monsters on the way. One of them realized that the abyss wasn't as scary as the rumors say, except for it being a little dark. The guide replied that it was because he avoided every place that could have had dangerous monsters. Then he called Yuan a pretty boy who's living off a girl. He noticed how those two stuck together the whole time, and that when he moves slightly away, she gets mad like he is her exclusive possession. Rongyin blushed, then she screamed that he's weak. So she was just trying to protect him. The man replied that he gets it. He even shared that when he was young. He didn't even want to get out of bed. The people with him started gossiping. Rongyin is a proud genius of the year generation, so they think the pretty boy was lucky to have found himself a powerful backer. They realize that being too weak can also be an advantage, since it attracts sympathy from beautiful women. One of them stated that someone strong, like Rongyin, will grow bored quickly. She offered to take care of Yuan instead. After that conversation, the guide informed them that they will arrive in the blue zone in 20 minutes. At that point, he can't guarantee all of them will still be alive. He warned them to stay alert. Unexpectedly, before he could finish his sentence, his head was already cut off. Everyone froze in shock. The fun ambience was immediately turned to fear. The culprit was a bipedal monster. They called it a headhunter, because it is a monster that collects human heads. They immediately retreated. So she couldn't move, she's far from them. So they knew they couldn't pull her in time. The woman saw it coming. They were all confused on who made a move to save her. It was Yuan. They were surprised to find out that it was the pretty boy. They couldn't fathom how it was possible that a single playing card cut off a tail as hard as alloy. Rongyin was shocked. The monster shrieked loudly. He threatened that cutting off the tail is just the beginning. The woman approached him and admitted that she misjudged him. Then they noticed that there were so many cards on the ground. They realized that Yuan threw nearly 100 cards at once, and one of them randomly hit a vital spot. They knew that the only weakness of the headhunters is the tail, and it's nearly impossible to hit it when it's moving too fast. One man whispered to the girl that devoting herself to him might only make her suffer, and he was just lucky since he's a pretty boy. She replied that she doesn't like owing favors, so she'll accompany him once and then leave. Yuan simply replied that luck is also part of strength. After that, he pointed out that their surroundings have changed. It made them notice the several headhunters at the top of the cliff. They got spooked that there was a lot, and they eventually got surrounded. Unfortunately, they have run into a massive hunting monster swarm. They panicked since they didn't expect this, especially when they are still in the green zone. They realized that the monsters don't care about the human zones. Yuan knew that. There's no way they could fight off tens of thousands of headhunters. Now their only option is to break through and gather their strength, and carve a bloody path before the horde fully encircles them. Rongyin decided that they will charge. She ordered all the Thunderclap disciples to listen up and stay close behind her. She told the other people from different halls to charge with them, and whether they survive or die will depend on their own fate. Rongyin used her massive sword and slashed those monsters. When they saw her, they couldn't help but to comment that heaven favors her, to the point that she can slay a headhunter in a single blow. When she made an opening, everyone followed her. They were determined to kill them all. She told them to hang in there, since they're close to getting out of the swarm. She checked Yuan if he's okay. They panicked when they realized that he's missing. She got angry at those disciples, because they were supposed to be protecting him. When he's in the middle of the group, she asked how he could just vanish easily. Someone replied that there's a mutated headhunter species that can turn invisible, so they speculated that it might have captured Yuan. Meanwhile, Yuan is at the top of the cliff, asking someone if he's still going to run. He stated that invisibility is useless, especially when the wound that his card left on it was still bleeding. He's talking to the headhunter. He challenged it to strike back. It charged at him so fast. It sneaked its tail behind him so it could behead him. Yuan saw it approaching. He controlled the rocks on the side and threw it at the headhunter. He equipped the evolved spider card to combat it, and with him nearing the awakening level, they had a wide gap in their strength. The evolution is still fresh and the spider is unstable, and he can only equip it twice within 72 hours. But if he obtains a stability gem ranked in top 10, he'll be able to use the card without restriction. His plan was to capture him first. He had done it easily. The monster turned into a card. His next move is to leave before the other monsters arrive. But he noticed someone had arrived. They were a group of people wearing a distinct uniform. They went there because of the mutated monster's aura, but they were puzzled that it had vanished. These people are the top 5 awakened beings from the rank 1 hall. Black Gold. They suppressed their power and snuck into the abyss, working together to drive the monsters and triggered the stampede, just so they could hunt the invisible. Mutated headhunter. With all those efforts, they wouldn't just let it escape. Yuan hid behind a rock and eavesdropped. He knew that the Black Gold Hall follows a dark path and was reserved for only the elite. Seeing that all 5 top awakened beings are there, he knew things just got serious. One of the men from the Black Gold stated that the mutated monster determines the future of the entire fortress, so they had to capture it, even if it meant killing every contestant. One of them assured him that it won't be able to escape. They trusted that it's just nearby. He ordered them to search for it no matter what it takes. Yuan realized that he can't stay hidden any longer. The man ordered everyone to split up and start from the rocky forest ahead and begin a thorough search. When they left, Yuan felt relieved since he'd be safe for the time being, but it made him curious as to why the mutated monster was so important. Then someone approached him and asked if he thinks he's safe now. They all appeared in front of him. One of them has the ability called holographic scanning, and it was easy for him to spot a rat like him. They wondered how much this rat overheard their conversation. They didn't care how much it heard. They would definitely destroy it. They looked down on him and didn't want to bother interrogating him, so they would just kill him. Yuan realized his fate was sealed, and they wouldn't even let him speak. Yuan exudes a terrifying aura and tells them that they could go ahead and scan his current power level. Those from Black Hall Guild were spooked. That his spiritual power is at the awakening level. They couldn't imagine how it's possible. when it took them at least 10 minutes to unseal and regain awakening level power. He told them that it takes less than a second to equip his spider card, and he challenged them to attack within 10 seconds, even when they couldn't unseal their strength. They still decided to charge all together to kill him. Yuyan decided to lend them a hand instead. He will unseal everything. He used psychic integration on them, and bodies were cut into cubes. They turned pale. Yuyan used too much psychic energy that it just didn't break the seal. He disintegrated the body too. So Yuan decided to interrogate him. He told him that if he behaves, he will spare him. The man was prideful. Since he's a dignified, high-rank awakened, he refused to be toyed with. So he ran away, but he could feel that he's moving slower this time. Yuan revealed that when he unsealed the others, he placed a slowing seal on him, since the man would never obey him. He told him to die. He released the headhunter from his card. The man was surprised to see the invisible mutated monster. Yuan mocked him by congratulating him on finding the monster that they had been looking for. The man's head was cut off. The headhunter came back to Yuan while dragging the man's body. Yuan was determined to find out the secret of the headhunter. Sooner or later, he used the corpses as fuel for his corpse vine. It absorbs the energy from the headless bodies. The fresh corpses of awakened beings are rich in energy. Yuan expected that before the exam ends, it would be enough for the corpse vine matriarch to evolve once more. He decided to go back to his group. When he reached Rong In, she carried him like a princess, while reminding him not to go more than 100 meters from her. She uttered that if she hadn't turned back and found her near the monster tide, he'd be dead without a grave. Yuan thanked her for not abandoning him. He reasoned that he had hypoglycemia and fell down because of weakness. That is why he couldn't keep up with the team. It made him blush when she urged him to hold her tight, because they are about to speed up. They need to shake off the monster's tide quickly. The disciples behind them ran as fast as they could, while thinking that they're watching a couple flirt. They started thinking that something must be going on between them. They felt jealous that Yuan was being protected by the goddess. They sped up. Yuan informed Rong Yun that his hypoglycemia was gone and he could walk on his own already. But she shushed him. She could tell something was behind them. She told them that aside from monsters, there are also disasters that cause confusion. So everyone must stay alert. The black miasma wasn't a monster, but a disaster. She told everyone to stay sharp and speed up, to be able to get out of the area. Yuan realized something about it. Thank you all for watching. Please watch this next GigaChat video, and I'll see you guys next time. Also support the channel by joining the Summon Club membership. You can also support by just liking the video and being awesome.